I went through all of 2020 and all of 2021 without talking about the iPod once. I was hoping that in 2019, my wishes would be granted, Apple would kill it off eventually, and I wouldn't have to talk about it again. But, unfortunately, it's February in 2022, and the iPod Touch still exists. So, just to hammer home my previous point even further into the future, I'm going to argue why in today's world, it makes absolutely no sense, no logical answer to buy an iPod Touch, and why Apple should kill it off. It's not worth saving. Let's begin. Okay, stop mashing the keyboard, okay? I already see 10 of you have commented. One of you were bragging about how you were first. The other was bragging about how no one cares that that guy was first. And third, some of you are saying, well, it's good for parents who want to buy an iOS device for their kids. They don't want their kids to have a cell plan, so they buy them an iPod. Okay, first of all, whose idea is it that iPhones have to have cellular plans? You know, you can very easily just not set that up, like with any unlocked iPhone, which is very easy to find these days, by the way. Any iPhone over the past few years you can find on Amazon for dirt cheap, and they'll be renewed, so even if you get it and something's wrong with it, you have 90 days to return it for a replacement. But yeah, the iPod Touch currently starts at 32 gigabytes for $199, which, considering it's an iPod Touch and not an iPhone, I do actually think that's overpriced and unreasonable, despite the fact that yes, it is technically the cheapest possible way to get an iOS device straight from Apple, right? If you go to certified refurbished in the iPhone section, you're not going to find anything at $199. So I guess if you're just a diehard Apple Card fan and you need your 3% cash back and you're not willing to look anywhere else in the world because you're not a normal human being, then yes, that's the cheapest way to get an iOS device. But there are a ton of compromises that, in my opinion, do not justify that price point. For one, there's no taptic or haptic engine of any kind. There's no vibration motor. There's no Touch ID. There's no Face ID. So there's no biometric of any kind. The A10 chip in it is probably like the oldest piece of Apple silicon that Apple is still technically selling, although they're not very proud of it. They've pretty much nearly wiped it off the face of the website. The only way to find it now is to go to the very, very bottom of Apple's homepage and look at product options, and you'll find a little tab for iPod Touch, but it's nowhere in the primary menu bars anymore. It used to be under the music section. It's not even there, so they don't even try to upsell you with AirPods or anything. But that A10 chip was not even fully unlocked. It's still an underclocked version of that CPU that shipped with the iPhone 7, which, by the way, if the A10 chip doesn't bother you, you can actually find very affordable iPhone 7s on Amazon if you're interested in an iPod Touch, because that means you don't care about wireless charging and you don't care about battery life. Sure, the iPhone 7 is fairly dated compared to everything else that's out now, but if your argument is, well, with the iPod Touch, you can spend $400 and get 256 gigs of storage. So maybe it's really good for people who want to store a bunch of music locally and don't have a ton of money, but they do want a lot of local storage. Yeah, guess what? You can buy a 256 gigabyte iPhone 7 on Amazon for half the price. So if your argument is you just want a bunch of local storage, then go on Amazon Renewed. I found in my 10 minutes of research 5 different options, 5 different color options you can choose from, all of which sitting around the $200 price point, which is, yes, half the price of the iPod Touch with 256 gigs. Not to mention that iPhone 7 is going to have a way better battery life. It's going to have water resistance. It's going to have Touch ID. It's going to have a way better camera. And the A10 chip is more fully unlocked. Plus, it's a larger display. It's a better display. And yeah, okay, the iPhone 7 doesn't have the headphone jack, but it's 2022. We can't keep having this argument about, well, some people might want that. No, okay, we're done with this. Everyone has moved on from it. You know, LG has died. Apple's nearly eliminated it, not just on the iPhone line, but also the iPads as well. So yeah, forgive me for recommending you save some money. Spend $200 less if you're such an audiophile that needs to store music locally, and spend the $9 on a headphone jack adapter. Even the double dongle, if you will. It's still infinitely cheaper than paying $400 for an iPod Touch in 2022, which is ridiculous that that option is still on the website. And let's say maybe you don't care about 256 gigs. Maybe you're just the kind of person that is looking for, you know, a cheap iOS device for your kid, but you don't want want them to have a cell plan because, you know, they don't want their phone to be used in school, or you just want it to be used at home over Wi-Fi and it's a bit more pocketable than a $300 budget iPad, which is honestly what your kid wants. Don't listen to them say they want an iPod Touch. But okay, for whatever reason you want your kid to be able to pocket their device, you can buy iPhone 8s for the same price of iPod Touches, and those will have glass backs, those will have wireless charging, even faster CPUs, even better cameras, with twice the storage. And again, same price. It's through Amazon Renewed, so again, you don't have to worry about getting scammed because you can send it right back if there is something wrong with it. Amazon assures you that the battery health is going to be at least over 80%, but even if it was at 85 or 90% battery health, that's still going to last longer than the insanely tiny battery in the current iPod Touch, which I believe is clocked at around 1100 milliamp hours. It's abysmal how bad the battery life is on that device. Yes, it's thin. Yes, it's very compact, but it's a complete waste of time and money. I've heard some people try to make the claim that businesses use iPod Touches for maintaining orders or checking out customers or writing notes and that kind of thing. And first of all, to the people that claim businesses and restaurants use iPod Touches, I know this is anecdotal, but I have literally never seen that in my entire life. I've seen countless budget iPads, people using tablets because they actually have full-size keyboards. Virtual or not, they're still much easier to type on than would be the 4-inch display on the iPod Touch with the insanely bad battery life. Why would a business buy up a bunch of iPod Touches with tiny keyboards that are not easy to type on and with terrible battery lives that don't even last through the entire work shift? They would much rather spend that money on older iPhones, which are probably going to be all over Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist or Amazon. They can buy those in bulk from leftover companies, or if you want to get it straight from Apple, you're going to save far much more time and money just by buying cheap iPads that are $300 or certified refurbished iPads. You can find them for a couple $100. They'll actually have a display that your customer can type on, and your employees will be able to write full sentences on and actually see what they're writing instead of trying to type on those microscopic keys. There's a reason Apple does not sell any 4-inch iPhones anymore, right? We have compact designs, but they have big old displays, so you have much larger keyboards to work with. So the iPad makes far more sense in the business world, and for the child market, it makes far more sense for parents usually to just hand their kids last year's iPhone, because these parents are probably upgrading every 3 or 4 years. Whatever iPhone they had before, they just hand that to their kid. You just don't put a SIM card in it. It's that simple. You don't have to activate a data plan. It's not that complicated. The kid would much rather play with an iPhone 7 or 8 than they would an iPod Touch, because they've got taptic feedback, they got a bigger display, and they've got a way better camera, because I'm sure they're going to be taking lots of TikToks. So let's address the other side of the argument of some people saying, no, Apple shouldn't kill the iPod, they should revive it, they should redesign it, they should give it more, give it love and attention. I've heard countless theories on maybe it could be, you know, this dedicated gaming portable device. Go up against the Nintendo Switch and give it a more powerful CPU and GPU, give it a bigger display, higher refresh rate, put some taptic engine in that. Heck, while you're at it, why not offer a cellular plan? And why not offer a phone number to, oh, wait a minute, Apple already made this crap. It's called the iPhone. So I think what happens when people get carried away with their iPod Touch revamp concepts is that they basically want it to keep the same price point of $199, but grab all of this expensive hardware that Apple has already put in their iPhones and bring that to something. But I don't think you actually want an iPod Touch revamp. You just want iPhones to become cheaper, which is fine. You know, just be honest with yourself about that. Yeah, it would be nice if the iPhone 13 mini was $200 instead of $700. We can all dream, right? But the concept that Apple would be able to redesign an entire product, give it way better hardware, give it way better silicon, way better displays, and simultaneously not increase the price at all? This is just not how Apple has ever worked. The only way you get products cheap and affordable is by recycling and reusing old designs, and the iPod Touch is probably one of the oldest designs that's still floating around on Apple's website, technically. And because it's so old, and because they get to skip so many of the expensive processes that other devices have, like modern Apple Silicon, or biometrics, or vibration motors, or taptic engines, or decent cameras, or battery lives that last more than 2 hours, all of that additional hardware is what makes the iPhone cost what it costs, or what makes the iPad cost what it costs. So if you try to fix the iPod Touch, if you try to update it in any way, it will suddenly no longer fit in that price point that you love so much. And even if you're trying to compromise a little bit and say, well, it doesn't have to be high refresh rate, it doesn't have to be as good as the iPhone 13 silicon, maybe just give it a bigger LCD display, maybe give it a 13 chip instead. Well, I've got news for you. Apple makes that too. It's called the iPhone 11 for $499. Honestly, really good deal, really good bargain, and only $100 more than the 256 gig iPod Touch. Much better product. I'd honestly recommend the iPhone 11 probably to most people if I worked in an Apple store. Parents and grandparents that don't need all that fancy stuff, they'd be happy with that. So honestly, I see no point in keeping the iPod Touch around. I think Apple just built a bunch of them and orders flatlined, so now we're just going through that backlog, but I would not be shocked to find out that they stopped manufacturing them like a year ago or so, but even then, they still have the engraving option, which means that they are still honoring like customized orders. Like if someone wants to engrave the back, maybe they just already have all the iPod Touches built and the only thing that's active is that little engraving machine. It does not need an update, it just needs to die. Apple's not proud of it, that's why they're not even trying to advertise it on their website, and I think they just spent too much money on the last refresh, which was over 1,000 days ago, by the way. We're coming up on 3 years since the last time they touched that thing, and they're clearly not going to do anything with it, so I would just say, yes, Apple, suck it up. I know the headlines are going to bother you, but accept the fact the iPod's time is done. It was cool when it was around. It doesn't need to exist anymore, especially with the existence of Apple Watches. You know, I'd rather this be my iPod Nano with Bluetooth headphones. And yeah, there will be a bunch of headlines everywhere that says Apple killed the iPod, but it needs to happen. Rip off the Band-Aid. You'll be fine. If you disagree with me because you're wrong, feel free to let me know in the comments below. This is your Apple Sheep here. I'll see you all in the next one.